YouTube comments from a video titled, Hormone and Fertility Experts. We've been lied to about women's health. If this happens, call a doctor. Part 4.
At Decupman 3289 wrote,
I always thought that endometriosis is limited to the womb. What an informative conversation about my health. While I tried HRT therapy, I suffered with higher joint pain levels since this intervention. I stopped and tried clove and herbal teas, which improved hormone level. This to the extent that I still menstruate at 56 to 57, but am in perimenopause. Thank you to you and your panel.
At Nature's Void wrote,
I always thought that even me, as a father working in manufacturing jobs, I see mothers that have the problem of childcare, and even not for a time we need to have windows of my day interrupted because I needed to go and make sure the kids was fine or relieve my wife. If these manufacturing jobs, or any jobs for that matter, offer daycare on site, that would, in my opinion, boost productivity and company morale/attitude across the board, especially during those times where it's mandatory overtime, etc.
At Easterniteski 13 wrote,
My whole life is and has been women's health issues. I'm 40. It's been a lot of time wasted at specialist and DR appointments. Thank you, Stephen, for this.
At Danny Mikey 2907 wrote,
I have PMDD, and I'll soon get a shot that will make me go into a temporary menopause. If all goes well and I'm not horribly suicidal and have panic attacks, I should get a hysterectomy. I've struggled so much. I know I'm not depressed. I have a great life, a very awesome and supportive husband and great kids. I just want to get better mainly for them.
At Most Amazing Woman wrote,
Women are shamed and disregarded for anything related to pregnancy, sex, and whatever is deemed just for women. Such an enlightening topic. I love how the orthopedic surgeon called out the IVF stigma. Smart.
At Ariadne Thurman 2383 wrote,
1 hour, 48 minutes, 20 seconds, 100% agree. My husband did it, and I didn't have to deal with side effects anymore. The doctor tried to talk us out of it, but we did it anyway, and it's been a decade now of having regular periods and no side effects.
At Dars 806 wrote,
I can't say how much I love that you got all these 4 women at one table. I respect and admire them so much. Thank you for doing this episode, Stephen.
At User 1245 P1P wrote,
50. 40. I love my periods. They were painful, very painful when I was young, but I still love them, contrary to the general opinion of women. So to me, thinking about not having them now that I am in the perimenopause and quite near to menopause is very sad. 54. 00. Even now at 50, I am slightly anemic because of heavy periods, yet my doctor simply did not prescribe any iron.
Patricio 4442 wrote,
48. 48 why? She missed the question. This is my guess, as a DO, is because they have a higher level of testosterone and DHEA, which will give them an advantage in power, speed, and recovery capacity.
At Recreational Use Only wrote,
Men have 10x the suicide rate of women. Why aren't these women trying to be equals there? They are victimized because they live longer. Such wretched old women.
SRH Sally X wrote,
I had no period for almost 8 years. Not a drop. This was due to an eating disorder from mid-20s, mid-30s. With healing, I did get my period eventually. I am now 48, still regular period. I'm amazed by our bodies. However, I really altered my overall health and life. Inability to have children, extreme dental issues, and most of all, the missing out of a huge chunk of my life. Absolute prison existence. and the recovery process is brutal. Anyone who has anxiety around food or exercise, who fears not having control of these. This is not good. Stop and reassess before your brain rewires, your vagus nerve malfunctions. The vagus nerve is well after failing at inpatient, nutritionists, therapy. I had to undo my own brain patterns, relearn how to breathe through extreme panic over slight adaptations to my behavior. This took a few years of work, and I found myself again 15 years of time. Stronger and wiser, but I still mourn all that time lost.
Caro in Mexico wrote,
I love this conversation. Thank you. Although I feel there is too low information on how to do the right thing on an individual level. As a high-paying person on the menstruation, I have seen so many doctors and followed so many courses to understand what I got, and nobody really can say what it is till today.
Edmina Ellie Bestman wrote,
I have listened to these four women on different podcasts. Wonderful to hear them talking around one table. I have learned more from them and how to look after myself and how and where to look for help than all the DIAs I have seen through the years. Thank you.
A Daily Bailout wrote,
Bro, I swear, just live your life. You don't have to track nothing. Your body is just meant to work, but obviously if you have all kinds of artificial hormones, then you are cooked.
At Recreational Use Only wrote,
These are the types of women who love to see other women out of shape, especially younger ones. An irregular menstrual cycle can be for many reasons. Fasting is least likely.
A Silver Mist wrote,
I'd love to see you interview Asian women doctors too. Drawing from ancient teachings passed down through generations, many Asian women maintain hormonal balance and overall health across the years using traditional Chinese medicine TCM practices. For example, Sarah Jane Ho shares wisdom on menstrual health and beyond. Dr. Vivian Tam explores holistic approaches to vitality and wellness. Sandra Lanchinchu dives into TCM for skin, beauty, and internal harmony. And Dr. Josh Axe offers natural strategies for managing menopause symptoms and hormone balance. It could be a fascinating crossover with your insights on periods and fasting.
At Ramon Cunningham wrote,
This conversation is long overdue and an excellent group of ladies selected to have it. It's surprising to hear how soon women go back to work. In Jamaica, we have 12 weeks maternity and 4 weeks paternity leave by law.
At American Ajuma 4457 wrote,
Just a shot in the dark here. I always get rashes, usually symmetrical, meaning one on each side of the same part of the body, in the week before my period. Period starts and the rashes immediately fade away, but leave dark hyperpigmentation type patches behind. Usually not life-altering, but have been bad at times. I just cover up the week before. Not looking for a cure, just some illumination. Curious if anyone else experiences this.
A Coral Wong 6600 wrote,
Coming from a different culture, it is shocking to see how common for girls on birth control pills in the US. Monitoring and tracking your period is so important. Why can't society make it the norm for men to wear condoms instead of putting chemicals into female bodies?
A Chinyu 67 wrote,
Right off the bat, I wish there was a Black woman on the panel. Starting my fertility journey, and I'm really anxious given the statistics around the world on birth mortality with Black women and its relationship with diet, stress, exercise, and chronic illnesses, all of which I could argue have specific cultural influence. Maybe an opportunity in the future.
A Daily Bailout wrote,
And how do you know all this, Cray? Cells repair gooby gobbly shy isn't just made up. An animal doesn't know how all this works to just live. An animal doesn't know how gravity works all this math shy to just live.
A Chad Nelson 8906 wrote,
I'm not trying to be insensitive, But what I've learned from feminism is that y'all wanted to be equal, and I don't think I've ever seen a man take more than a week off after a baby was born. Personally, I would like to be financially stable enough for the mother of my future children to be able to take a whole year off of work.
Eliza, 1943 wrote.
Thank you so much, Steve, for bringing these powerhouse of women together and have a real discussion about these issues that are not talked about enough. I fought with doctors since I was 18. I started having painful periods. It wasn't until I was 31 that a doctor finally listened and found out I had a whole list of issues: PCOS, fibroids, a tumor, endometriosis, and my uterus was tilted. They did the surgery to scrape the endometriosis off, but they actually removed my whole left ovary and too because of how bad it was. Thank God that tumor was not cancerous, and my endometriosis was stage 4. I had so many questions that were left unanswered and being doing my own research and learning as much as I can about PCOS/endometriosis. So thank you for being these powerhouse of women together and talk about this and how it relates together.
Edik No You Want to Kiss Him wrote.
I haven't had my period for over a year and my gynecologist has ruled everything out and he claims it as that I over-exercise, but I don't even exercise, I just walk at a slow pace for an hour every day. I still don't have an answer.
At Spacegoat 123 wrote.
Send this to ALL the females I know. So grateful Steven created the space for this. All of the females I know have PCOS. They were all just slapped with birth control, and when they asked if it was reservable or if there was an alternative like lifestyle and diet changes, they were told no. And if this brand of birth control doesn't work, come back and they'll recommend another.
Tam wrote.
I needed to hear this based on what I'm experiencing right now. To all the people who want to downplay what a woman/female is, please stop insulting us because you have no idea what we go through and how important our hormones benefit and affect us. Please stop insulting our womanhood.
At Xena 7845 wrote.
I don't think they studied fasting enough. I have a friend who resolved her PCOS through fasting. I myself lost the excess 45 pounds of weight, and my period returned to normal cycle after practice intermittent fasting of 24 HRS OMAD, and the numbness in my hands and feet disappeared. The only thing I changed was my diet.
And Mishvlogs wrote.
Mind-opening, emotional, validating, shocking, all the feelings I just experienced by just listening to 1HR of this episode. I can't wait to dive deeper. Thank you, Stephen, for gathering these women's health experts together.
At HPM 6792 wrote.
What should we do when our teens are put into BC pills due to irregular periods? I sort of think this is an easy way out of the doctor office. Unfortunately, most gynecologists prescribe BC pills.
At Michelle Smith 1349 wrote.
Blimey, is an older woman. I find this very interesting and so detailed in medical terminology. I will have to watch this a few times to properly digest everything. No wonder us women can have such issues.
At Calmepity 7823 wrote.
I'm wondering then, if a woman is on high progesterone for most of her life, to the point where she doesn't ovulate, will she go through menopause very late since her vault is still filled?
Teacher Mom 80 wrote.
Wow, this is going to be a good one. Thank you so very much, Steve, for bringing these 4 wonderful women together for this very important conversation. I'm definitely sharing this with loved ones. All the men in my life, too. I'm a 45-year-old woman living in a house full of dudes. I love them dearly, but feel deeply misunderstood. I'm terrified of the changes that menopause will bring. I can't stand how I feel every month when my estrogen level drops after I ovulate. My brain doesn't work, etc. I have to plan all of my cognitive work for when my estrogen level is high. I'm mortified boo all the changes that perimenopause and menopause will bring. I spent my life raising my children and would never regret that, but I thought I'd have my later years to build wealth and retirement and return to work outside of the home. I feel like I was lied to my whole life by not being told early on of the changes my body would naturally go through as a woman, so I could honor that and work with my biology instead of trying to fit in a world that works against it. It shouldn't have taken 45 years to start to figure this out. I would have planned my career differently, to say the least. On the bright side, making everyday changes based on what I've learned from these wonderful women and others, like taking creatine, protein, collagen peptide, and other high-quality supplements, has helped me build a stronger body than ever before. The cognitive effects and cognitive load of lifestyle and poor sleep with lack of a support system continue to be a problem. No one takes my concerns seriously. Very ignorant men.
At Ismail_IBN_shock wrote,
These conversations are very important and must lead us to think about how we view and treat women in Western society. I come from a Muslim background, so my wife never used birth control. When she got pregnant from our firstborn, her sisters knew before her because they knew each other's cycle.
At Lethal Weapon 8254 wrote,
40. 18. I'm so glad I watched this. I was diagnosed with PCOS 2 or 3 years ago now, and no one told me what exactly it was, why it was happening, or really what to do. All I was told was I had to use birth control to regulate it, and to exercise and stay away from excess sweets. I feel better understanding the cause and how the changes to my lifestyle helps.
At Becca Martin 837 wrote,
1620, the WW diagnosis. I have lived through this. It is maddening. Been to countless doctors, and the answer was always, it's all in your head. I never gave up and finally found a doctor that would help me. But that WW comment just triggered me. Bad.
At Seco Valusi wrote,
Stephen, amazing episode. I feel so grateful I learned English, allowing me to have access to this incredibly important information. The UTI still feels so sad that our older generation in my country, my mum included, does not speak English and therefore can't understand this topic. I would love to send this episode to my mum, as she is perimenopausal and it's still a big taboo in my country, Czechia. And I believe in the rest of EU too. With ALLTCI, when will we be able to play your episodes in different languages? I reckon you can just run it with AI. Translate the sound to other languages, check please, and let AI speak. We need YOU in different languages. For people who can't understand English, who because of that live many years behind and are influenced by mainstream media. What do you think? Please let me know. Lucy PS, thank you for being you and the incredible work you put into DCEO.
At Elizabeth Ashley 17 wrote,
I've listened to a lot of these kinds of conversations in the last year. Doctors are always so quick to discuss heavy bleeding and shortened cycles as symptoms of menstrual dysfunction. But what about elongation of periods? I spent over a year plus 2D and Cs and an ablation, dealing with prolonged bleeding and spotting. I was bleeding more days in a month than not, and had endometrial polyps that are presumed to have been the cause. But nowhere have I been able to find information about why this happens and what hormone shifts might be the culprit. I'm 36 and have been told that I'm too young to be in perimenopause. My hormone blood work always comes back perfectly normal, and yet I have hormonal/cyclical acne on my neck, night sweats, brain fog, mood changes, and all of the symptoms discussed here and elsewhere. I have given up trying to get help from doctors and am now just trying to slowly make lifestyle changes as best I can as a mom of 3 young children. It's so incredibly frustrating to know something is wrong with my body and being completely shut down every time I try to get help.
At Emiraes Blanton wrote,
What a lovely and empowering conversation. Thank you so much, Stephen, for getting this group of women together and fostering these conversations. Your channel has helped me and my family so much in our health journey. To the women on this panel, thank you so much for speaking out and spreading information. Your voices are so powerful and much needed. I also wanted to send my deepest condolences about each and every one of your failed pregnancies. I am so sorry that you all felt you had to suffer in silence and carry on as if nothing had happened. That breaks my heart, and it's unacceptable. I hope that you have since had the space to grieve them, because that loss is devastating and it should never be diminished.
At Angela Sano 25 wrote,
It says something about our society that I find it so refreshing to finally have a discussion where it's openly acknowledged that women are different from men, all the way down to a cellular level. It doesn't matter how you feel, it just is. Genetically. A great episode and very helpful information for all women to manage their health.
Kaiko Apex wrote,
I'm extremely glad I stayed to watch this entire discussion. I have battled with irregular periods most of my life, which I was given Mirena IUD for at the age of 15 that stopped my periods for 5 years, and have suspected PCOS. And now with an 11-year-old daughter who just started her period, I want to make sure she doesn't face the same obstacles in life. It made me realize the true impact my influence as a parent can make on crucial years her body and bones are developing. Amazing and inspiring group of women.
At Katie Jackson 9697 wrote,
Yes. Haven't even started the episode yet, but I've heard all these women speak individually. They are all on point. I am sending this to all of my female friends. And I like what was said. We need to shift the conversation. When educating young girls that it's not just a period, lots of hormones change within our bodies every single month for the next 40 years. And to educate girls to nurture that. Pay attention to how we feel and what to feed ourselves, and how to care for ourselves within each stage.
At Addicted to Learning wrote,
At the Diary Office CEO, thank you for this episode. I'm beyond childbearing years, but my daughter is in her early 30s, and I'm going to strongly suggest she watch this. So much new information. And you are a sweet soul asking to know more to support your partner.
Coco Rosie wrote,
I used to bleed through my clothes every month when I was 12. I was so embarrassed, I never got any help, and no one ever had anything for me as far as what to do. I just learned to deal with it.
At Carrot Gold 09 wrote,
My heart is beating fast due to the intro. I personally have been through so much as a woman, and doctors failed me. I don't think I can watch this just yet. Lord help.
At James Anderson Y8Q wrote,
I'm a doctor, and Healing Beyond the System book by David Collins completely changed how I look at health. It's one I suggest all my patients to read. I've seen both myself and my patients benefit from the principles inside.
At Lauren D 530 wrote,
240 just to add. The main thing an employer or the state can do to help new mothers is pay some maternity leave and also offer an amount of unpaid maternity leave. It's shocking in this day and age that the US still does not have any leave paid or otherwise as standard. Bad for the mother and bad for the baby.
At Dmat7148 wrote,
I am childless not by choice, diagnosed too late. Too little knowledge in my day and culture. Nearly 40% of my female friends struggled with fertility, while our mothers had lots of children naturally. No one wanted to talk about it, and doctors mostly gaslight us back then. Thank God you are using your platform for such massive change and awareness.
Dana Blackthorne wrote,
So interesting, truly, thank you. My period just vanished 2 years ago. Me were really worried and nothing worked for almost a year, and we give up for I had pretty bad acne breakouts and a mental crisis for the pills, and my now permanent gynecologist told me to take another approach. I go to live alone outside of my mom and family. I tried to make my own food and do exercise in a constant way, and since I finished college, I lived in this so very calm, not stressful and healthy life. And it came all by his own. I don't want to scream victory since, as they mention, when it came, I call my mom telling her how happy I was that it is finally here, and well now is constant for half a year, a days later, days earlier, but constant, and I could not be happier.
At Wisdom for Living, Bibucola wrote,
I have always had relief from cold water bath days before my period. I will be looking at cold bath at 10C for 10 to 15 minutes. Thank you, ladies.
At Lyot Mew wrote,
I'm so glad for these women and me learning all this before deciding to have children. I have debated freezing eggs, but like they have mentioned, without insurance, it's easily 20K. Looking forward to improved women's health and educating my kids on female health.
At Lisa in Houston wrote,
Amazing podcast. I remember a convo I had with several young women about 10 years ago. They were using birth control pills to completely skip their periods. I instinctively knew this was problematic, but could not explain this. I hope this conversation reaches these young women. Such important conversations.
At Kamajita 2073 wrote,
What if you're over 65? I didn't have any help and had to navigate through perimenopause/menopause on my own. Thank goodness I had some guidance through Christine Northrup's Wisdom of Menopause. However, there wasn't any support from my doctor or even dialogue around menopause. It was taboo. I really struggled. Luckily, I kept strength training and diet going, which has helped a lot.
As Sarah Blackspitcher wrote,
38, 29. I was diagnosed with PCOS in early 20s as an elite athlete, and DR brushed it off. Since there were no issues with getting pregnant, I did not think about it. But after second birth, I gained 80 pounds that I was eating less than my toddler. No matter what, the weight would not go down. It took me years of arguing with my doctors, pushing for tests, being denied. You're tall, you carry it well, one of them said. Then I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's and vitiligo in my late 30s. Took all of that info to a new doctor who put me on Ozempic. Guess what? It made me gain more weight. This conversation finally makes it all make sense.
At Born the Wrong Animal wrote,
What a super team you've gathered. This conversation both enrages me and gives me hope. I hope we all can make a difference for ourselves and for the next generations.
J. Vixen, Tattoos wrote,
This had been simultaneously the most refreshing and scary episode I've seen. As someone who was sent for LEEP surgery due to precancerous cells at 17, had abortions and miscarriages both early and late term, being dabbed with incompetent cervix, and in the end having my rainbow baby due to a circlage, some of this made me cry, some of this made me angry at previous medical situations I've been in. Some of this made me truly enlightened. Overall, it was possibly one of the important things I could have watched as a 38-year-old woman. I wish that I could scream at some of my previous doctors, but I also agree that we can't fault them because they didn't know that much. I hope so much that we can have the mentality of these women and Stephen going forward. Thank you for this.
As Suframery 1 wrote,
3.5 hours is a half day of work. Any chance we can get your interviews down to an hour? I love all the topics and the importance, but too much time required.
Akij 762 wrote,
This was a loot of higher level information at a fast pace. I wish this could presented in smaller visual aid lessons. especially if you want people to be able to really absorb this. I plan to go back and watch it again, but I'm an intellectual. This isn't really that palatable for a lay person.
As Sarah Blackspitcher wrote,
Thank you for this conversation. I wish it was available with multilingual subtitles. So many women I want to send this to, but their English is not on this level.
At Lindsay Teraventure wrote,
What a fantastic source of information for female health, bringing together such a depth of evidence-based, empowering information that has largely been missing from our society and our healthcare. I hope this episode reaches far and wide as it has the power to do great good. Thank you.
At Rosa Moreno 4794 wrote,
I went to Vivo barefoot in 11 by 2024 and never looked back. I even wear mine with toe spacers. Got 3 pairs from Amazon and now I have hundreds of Nikes, Converse, and Vans I do not wear.
At Teresa Couts 4640 wrote,
Every young woman should be educated in school along with sex education. It could really help them to be more prepared for the challenges that will come with our mind and body.
At Ratch_face wrote,
Fasting was great for me in my 30s. I tried it again recently in my 40s. Absolute nightmare. I gained weight and my periods were all over the place. I won't be doing that again.
The China Cetacean wrote,
I despise my period. If there a healthy way to shut it off, I would. And I don't even suffer much. I am lucky. It is the stupidest concept of nature. As if there were no other to create human beings. I love seeing this convo. We still know almost nothing about reproduction. We barely scrape the surface. Especially period blood can be a powerful source, more powerful than normal stem cells, and it is utterly unutilized, so no power is taken from men. I am hopeful for a health and power revolution which would also save the planet.
At Uprising 144K wrote,
I've seen many women resolve this issue with a secret Japanese tech from a site called Holy Hydrogen. It's the tech that literally saved my life. People need to know about this life-changing technology.
At Stacy Trunley 5166 wrote,
Thank you so much. If this had an aha moment, and I am going to call my DR tomorrow to request hormone level tests due to sudden severe depression, anxiety and general personality changes and chronic fatigue. Had a horrible experience with this antidepressant and that leading to gut side effects and having to take further medications for that, and it's possible I'm perimenopausal. Not one DR I've spoken to in the last 3 years even mentioned this.
At Betsy Summers wrote,
As a teenager, I was diagnosed with amenorrhea and irregular periods. My gynecologist was flippant and said it won't matter until you're trying to get pregnant, so enjoy it. Had I been taken care of, diagnosed appropriately, my PCOS and accompanying weight problems, fatigue, acne, and later fertility challenges could have been dealt with. It's infuriating how little training DRs get about hormonal patterns and how fundamental they are to total health.
At Niebieska Model 3308 wrote,
In Poland, it's a year of paid leave and another 3 years of unpaid leave. There's some amount paid from the government, around $400, $500. It's half to 1/3 of Polish wage. And after that, $200 for every child in the family. And on top of that, almost free nursery, kindergarten. And some of this leave may be taken by the father.
At Hold My Eucalyptus wrote,
At this stage, I just suggest ladies to stop going to pharma dealers' doctors and switch to functional doctors. They won't change their way if you keep paying them. Stop visiting these useless people who actually do more harm than good. There's a time and place for them in acute emergencies, sure. But chronic issues, forget about it. Look for a functional doctor. Research functional medicine, educate yourself on basics, and stop trusting legal pharmaceutical drug dealers, 'cause that's who they are.
At Cassandra Kelso 292 wrote,
I would propose that more studies need to be done in birth control use. It's crazy to me that they say no one caused the PCOS. How does birth control use in a mother affect her daughters? We already know it affects mate choice. There are definitely generational consequences when you treat your body like a spigot to be turned on and off. Why not study interventions first?
At Asasi wrote,
The greatest example of historical idiocracy for treating women was with Ignaz Semmelweis. He observed that in general hospitals had thrice the mortality for mothers than midwives' wards. He was labelled mad and was rejected by the medical community, even though in his own hospital he managed to reach 16% of drop in mortality just by asking people to wash their hands. For mothers, you know, the people who freaking give birth to babies. It ain't matter what science says in general. If someone comes with evidence that mother's mortality rate can be dropped, you do whatever it takes to adopt it. But as usual, man were man.
At Wafanansara 7704 wrote,
Why can't we see a single African woman speaking? Studies on women of color is very limited compared to the rest, and this is not a comprehensive approach when discussing matters relating to women.
At Renebelkly 1333 wrote,
Stefan, please consider if you and Mel choose to freeze eggs. I read that 80% of babies born using IVF, mostly daughters, will not be able to have children naturally. Something to think about. As a grandparent, this is my greatest enjoyment and privilege.
At Juliegeles wrote,
All the women in my family were perfectly fine when they stopped getting their period. My grandma is 96, no health ailments. My mom, 74, perfectly health and shape. I'm 53 and period finally stopped. I'm perfectly fine.
At _ice cream wrote,
Goodness. I was just thinking about searching for this topic on your page because my period disappeared after 3 weeks of intermittent fasting. I was so scared. Thank you so much.
At Nebiescamodel 3308 wrote,
Also, I realize how lucky I was, getting pregnant, making decision in the moment, and it all happened. It wasn't a good partner. I'm a single mom now with autistic kid, which makes life harder than being in a happy relationship. But being autistic myself, and reflecting upon my relationships, I'm in my 40s and didn't find the right man for me. At the time I just thought it won't happen, but it made me a mom. I heard lots of stories of my friends trying to conceive, going through IVF, so I thought it's not really possible for me to get pregnant at the first try. But I was happy at the time, healthy, with a good non-stressful job and in love. On the other hand, my friend had her 5th kid recently, the last 3 unplanned, 2 of them being only 1 year apart. I live now in a poor neighborhood, and there are more kids around here than in other parts of the city. People drink and smoke, don't eat healthy, but still have lots of kids they didn't plan on having.
At Monix 734 wrote,
From the beginning, I had 3 to 5 periods a year until age 46. Had no problems getting pregnant. I had 0 PMS, cramps, mood swings. I had it good. Now I'm normal and I hate this monthly business. Ready for the pause.
At Antonia 6059 wrote,
First of all, I'd like to say I love that this conversation is happening. And all the women on this panel are so intelligent and well accomplished. And I'm so grateful for them and their contribution to women's health. But I think the issue of natural family planning was pushed aside a bit too quickly. One thing to point out here is women also have the option to pursue a more traditional lifestyle. I would love to see someone on the panel who represents and normalizes women getting married at a young age and starting their family in their early years of fertility. Then perhaps starting their career later in life. We've somehow, as a society, condemned this path as ignorant and backwards. yet it may be a much healthier path for a lot of women. Not all women can afford to freeze their eggs, and many may not want to do that. Much in the same way we put off having a family to pursue career. Women can put off a career to pursue a family. This wouldn't be a path for every woman, but it shouldn't be demonized, looked down upon, or overlooked. As stated earlier, we should give our daughters all the information possible for their health and happiness. It's okay and even beautiful for family to be the main focus of a young woman's life for a period of time. Paradoxically, this may be a better route for lower to middle income women. Not all women will be high earning and highly career driven people. In fact, many are not. I think that's okay. In a world where we have a declining population, maybe celebrating motherhood as a legitimate and even heroic contribution to society is in order. My mother got married young, had 7 children, and then went back to college to pursue her career in her late 40s. Her experience as a mother most definitely contributed to the fantastic job she was able to do in her career. I also got married young and started my family in my 20s. During that time, I dedicated my focus to raising my young family. Now that I'm approaching my 40s and my children are almost grown, I am becoming more career focused. All of this is just to say there is more than one path a woman can take when considering family planning. I would love to hear more conversations about that as well. Thank you if you made it this far into the comment.
As Cheyenne Streeter wrote,
3300. I think if we were treated like we were humans expected to give birth, and if hormones were not associated with reproduction and sexual acts, then irregularities and the ties between reproductive and hormonal health for females is important from birth. A lot of women would have been diagnosed with PCOS, or maybe even an entirely different ovarian dysfunction altogether.
at Endometriosis wrote,
I felt very small with PCOS all my life. Like I'm a little girl abandoned by God, and I don't even believe He exists. Thank you for describing my life. I've met enough doctors that described me as WWW in their heads.
as Janae C7 New Jersey wrote,
As a man that is at least partially Black, and understanding that Black women are 2 to 3x as likely to experience many of the issues discussed here, it's highly disappointing that you didn't consult with any Black physicians.
at Bring Back Pangea wrote,
As a woman, this was very enlightening and interesting. Everyone should know this stuff. Thanks, team. Such a joy to see smart women expressing so many cool ideas.
and Monikarshu wrote,
I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's in my early 20s. At 23, I had a basic health screening test that revealed low bone density. I went to my doctor, gave her the results, and told HER that I was feeling tired all the time, to the point where if I sat down, I fell asleep. She goes, well, these bone density scans are not accurate, and I was getting older, so I pushed back and said, I want a bone scan. And if I were 40, which I now am, I would understand her statement, but not at 23. Turns out, after the bone scan, I was on the verge of osteopenia, which prompted my doctor to try to put me on medication for osteoporosis. I pushed back on that, and because I pushed back, my Vit D levels were tested and were very low. After taking massive doses for a while, I was able to build back bone density. Fast forward to 35, expecting our son. I had an awesome pregnancy. I felt great. I had lots of energy, no issues except for limited maternity fashion and lack of coffee. I asked 5 doctors PMD, 2 obgins, and 2 endocrinologists how I could feel close to as good as I did during pregnancy. 4 out of 5 doctors said you can always get pregnant again. The doctor I kept pulled out a bell curve chart and said, I am going to map out your total thyroid function every 6 months, suggest some vitamins to take, diet, and work towards getting you back to stability after baby arrives. PP depression made it complex. but I feel better today than I did at 23. I was on BC for 10 years, but after pregnancy I could not find one that wouldn't make me feel sick, so we chose hormone-free options. This video was so affirming and needs to be shared.
At Forever Fitty wrote,
I've been geeking out on biological differences between males and females for a few years now. Of course, I've read Stacy's book. Currently studying physiotherapy and hope to use this knowledge to help women when I'm qualified. It's already super useful in personal training. I reduced carbohydrates a few months back. Noticed my periods starting coming max 10 days late. I went back to a reasonably high-carb diet, and it's been regular ever since. I can't wait for women's health to be general knowledge.
At OMC23 wrote,
Deeply touching conversation. It took 15 years for me to be diagnosed with endometriosis. Never given a treatment option. Can't wait for part 2 of this discussion. Thank you to everyone involved in making these talks happen.
At Ahood 13 wrote,
Wow, I am crying while listening about your pregnancies and post-delivery stories. I just wanted to thank Stephen for putting these brilliant women together here, and thank all of you for your life experience and help that you advocate for our daughters and children generation. Thank you from my heart to all for what you went through, even though I had miscarriage in my 3rd pregnancy due to stress, and my 4th pregnancy was twins, and then my partner passed away. I feel very privileged to be able to be with my babies at home until the youngest started primary school. If I heard this conversation 15 years ago, I would have been able to support my best friend better, who was having these nightmare pains every month. Thank you. I love you girls.
And Noel I5J wrote,
Funny thing app this is I literally just read an article that cycle syncing on a scientific note doesn't do any difference for menstruators. However, some may feel it does, so then continue to do it. But that's what I read.
At Godavari 6 wrote,
The behind-the-scenes communities for PCOS, endometriosis, and other reproductive health issues is how most of us have been learning how to survive with the pain and treatment of these imbalances. Thank you for centering these voices, doctors and practitioners, and centering women's health so we don't have to keep living behind the scenes.
At Whispered Hearts 88 wrote,
I read Taryn Wicklow's Forbidden Business Mindset from cover to cover on a long-haul flight. I couldn't sleep afterward. The book was not burdensome. It whispered things no one else said. Tax law is a map, debt is a tool, income is a trap. I landed and thought about platforms, cover, and traps in a whole new way. I wasn't taught. I was just taught to be in the system.
At Hananel Salahi 6330 wrote,
Phenomenal work, and I'm only halfway through. What an episode. Congratulations to the Doke team for bringing us such enlightening information with people who clearly are some of the best at what they do, and for Stephen for navigating this in such a simple and easy to comprehend manner. This is education like I've never seen before. Bravo.
At LeCanter wrote,
Personally, I think the market only started caring when they realized they could transform men to women. Once that knowledge could be profitable, they started to care a bit more, but ultimately it's about creating men, even if they're becoming women. Now they need to know more about the hormones that make women kind of be women, but they don't care about women, nor does the science attached to it. Hormones have to be isolated and marketed for these men to become women. So these men started to care about women's hormones, and then the science opened up a bit. I still don't believe the science gives any care or fucks given about women.
At Robster7012 wrote,
Lack of iodine is linked to many of these conditions, and iodine is needed to regulate insulin resistance. Not to say iodine is the be-all end-all.
At Horse4U wrote,
Coming from a www, It wasn't until I had a full hysterectomy that I got the diagnosis I've been seeking for 7 years. Debilitating endometriosis. This podcast should be mandatory to every health professional in the world. Thank you, Stephen.
As Charlotte Collins, Y8D wrote,
I am new to YouTube and first time commenting here after listening to this video. You don't need a medical degree to sense it. Your body tells its story after a hysterectomy or any other procedure that changes your body's natural rhythm as a woman. Age and hormonal shifts are part of life's ebb and flow, and no pill can truly erase these changes. They're a natural chapter to embrace. Staying active and nourishing yourself with a balanced diet can make a world of difference. Be cautious with hormone replacement therapy. It might seem like a quick fix, but it can introduce risks like blood clots and other complications, often adding more hurdles instead of easing the journey.
Atlas Leisure's X4Z wrote,
Thank you for shining a light on this, as it's very real for women, regardless of age. We need representation in the medical field, and for men to be our allies.
At Lady Jez 3003 wrote,
Total respect to you for educating yourself on what your partner and women in general go through. I am sure that she really appreciates you for doing so. Thank you from me, as I learnt a lot too.
At DCVX7UJ wrote,
Bush T. I have 4 kids and I have been fasting for years because of psoriasis. Psoriasis is gone. I am 44 and currently pregnant, but I eat a high-fat, animal-based diet. No visceral fat on me. I go to bed at 9 p.m. Morning sunlight. I also meditate and avoid pollutics and being a shitty negative person. We manifest our thoughts not what we want or what we do. Read that again. Everything is energy, so stop focusing on negative content that leads to fear. If you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy.
At Alessandritzler 6359 wrote,
It's interesting that Stacy Sims points out the fact that women were dehumanized thanks to Darwin, whereas the Bible and the actual Christian worldview is the only faith/worldview that has spoken about how women are indeed equal to men, yet we are in fact different in our biology and roles. Evolution is a scam. Every person has worth and value due to being created in the image of God, including women.
At DK___10 wrote,
As a woman, I felt quite emotional while watching this episode. Often it feels like the whole world is structured to be against us. The medical gaslighting and lack of access to good healthcare is a real struggle. I appreciate your point, Steve, that men need to be part of this discussion and become aware of the difficulties the women in their lives may be facing on a day-to-day basis. This episode came right when I finished Naga Munchti's book It's Probably Nothing, Critical Conversations on the Women's Health Crisis, that has a UK/NHS-based focus and was very informative. I recommend to all who enjoyed listening to this episode. Looking forward to part 2.
As Simpster wrote,
People always say sleep more. I would love to sleep more, but it's beyond me. I'm doing the things to help my circadian rhythm. Cool temps at night, blue blocker glasses, no computer or phone after 7:30 p.m., no lights after 7:30, and I do not sleep well at all.
At Andrea96281 wrote,
I feel like crying every 10 minutes of this episode. It's all so real. All of this information is vital. I can relate to the cases they describe, and it has definitely made me reflect on and question the ways I've been treating my body.